Alright, so this is the second half, final half of my living room tour. This is going to be about the handful of small parrots that we have, who are also rescues in a way. This is Petrie. I think you guys have met Petrie many, many times. You've seen videos of him preening Ginny, who I introduced you to yesterday, and although you've seen videos of Ginny, obviously, in the past too. Petrie is a blue crown conure. We got him in January of 2017. He was 10 years old at the time and had just been rescued by a friend of ours who didn't actually have space for him. According to her, for the first almost 10 years of his life up to that point, his original owner neglected him. Didn't abuse him, but he just, gave him food and water, cleaned his cage out, but he stayed in his cage for 10 years. He didn't have any other birds to socialize with. His human never took him out. And parrots are just very social creatures. I mean, they get really depressed when they're hurting, when they're isolated. Sometimes they resort to plucking their feathers. It's actually very lucky that Petrie didn't resort to that. The person who rescued him actually had an Amazon at her place next to Petrie, and they were neighbors for a while, and that was Petrie's first friend. His name was Kyoki. Kyoki was very old though when he passed a couple months after they got Petrie. So our friend knew that we were bird people, and so brought Petrie over. I put his cage right next to my desk. I did a lot of work from home at the time, so I let him out. And for 3 months, it took for him to slowly trust me. Day by day, he would venture closer and closer to my keyboard. After a month, he finally would walk onto my monitor, and after about 2 months, he would come up and preen my hands. But if I got too close to him, he would go back to his cage. It's just, his trust was very, very hard to earn. You see how he still does baby wings, right? I think his social development is, the last 8 years, he's just been learning how to be a social bird. He was never grumpy, just slow to trust, but he's very sweet. By month 3, he would climb up on my shoulder, and then he talks to me, and we go, "Do you want to do tongue clicks, Petrie?" No. He's a bit shy. He knows I've got this object in my hand, and I think it makes him a little nervous. You saw how he was shuffling on the TV. But yeah, he does baby wings. He talks to me sometimes. He calls me good bee, which I think is him saying good boy. When we're watching movies, he laughs at the most inappropriate times. When people are dying or something really sad happens, suddenly he'll pipe up and start chuckling. I don't know what it is. Below him, as you can probably hear, are 2 budgies. Blizzard on the left is 7, and Clover, the yellow and green one, she's a little over 1. We got Blizzard with his original mate in 2019, and his original mate actually looked a lot like Clover. Her name was Buttercup. You guys may have seen some videos of them. They were 1 year old at the time, and their owner had neglected them a lot, like didn't even do much with their cage. According to our friend, their cage had tons of poop built up, and it's just a miracle that they didn't get sick. He returned them to the pet store where he got them, and so we adopted them. Buttercup and Blizzard, I mean, they seem perfectly healthy. They were pet store purchases, and sometimes their DNA from pet store breeding can be a little wonky. Buttercup passed last year from a heart attack, just out of the blue. And some of you may know budgies are extremely social. They need at least one other budgie to be happy. They're not happy alone. And Blizzard actually is friends with Petrie too. Sometimes I let them out, but they need a cage mate basically. And Clover was actually found by somebody on the street. I think she'd gotten out. No, I'm sorry, I'm misremembering. She was also returned after a year by someone who neglected her. She had mites, bad mites, and we had to quarantine her for a little bit, for over a month, giving her Avamec, formulated specifically for birds to get rid of the mites. Her beak had build up, her feet looked bad. It was really bad. Once we got her back to health, we put her in here with Blizzard, and he's taken to her quite a bit. I don't think that she can fly that well. She climbs a lot. One of her wings is a little bit tweaked. When she flaps them, one of them doesn't go up as high as the other. Blizzard used to try to get her out when I would change their dishes instead of waiting for the times when I'd let him out. Once he realized that she couldn't fly very well, he actually has shown no interest in coming out. He wants to accommodate her as well as possible. He's been very good to her. He lets her eat from the dish. Sometimes they can both fit, but if she's taking up all the space, he just lets her. He's really, really good to her. The perch that Mr. Blizzard is on right now belonged to our very first cockatiel named Neville. We had Neville for 6 years. He got unexpectedly sick, and we tried our best to treat him, but he passed in 2016. So, late 2016. So we kept that perch ever since, and we've been giving it to any of our most special parrots who like it, and now it belongs to Blizzard and his friend. Buttercup liked it too. It's funny how Clover likes looking at herself in this mirror. Buttercup did the same thing. Blizzard sometimes does it, but for the most part it seems to be yellow female budgies that love that mirror. The water dish, their bath dish, used to belong to Amaya, who I told you guys about in my first half of the tour. Rayla inherited Amaya's bed globe. They inherited Maya's bath dish. Anyway, Blizzard's going on 7, and for most budgies, the average life expectancy is 5 for various reasons. Oftentimes they die around 5 of unexpected, cancer tumors, things like that. Buttercup's case, she just had a heart attack out of nowhere. Blizzard is now 7. Anything past 5, I'm grateful for. We love Blizzard a whole lot, and I'm hoping, every year is a gift. Some budgies make it to 15. I would love that for both of them. We miss Buttercup very much, and yeah. Okay, so going over here, we've got little Anya. Anya is a green cheek conure, I believe the cinnamon variety, I think is what they call that. We've had her for about a year. She was adopted from somebody who got a divorce, and her living condition changed, and she didn't have the ability to give Anya here the attention that she needed and deserved. The person who adopted her out, it wasn't like she was trying to get rid of her. She did a really good job with Anya. She raised Anya from, look at you, from a little baby. She's extremely hand tame. See, I can pet her. Most conures, you can't easily do this. Even Petrie, who I've had for 8 years, who loves me, he will only let me pet his head if I have him perched on my finger. If I put my hand near him when he's on, his stand like this, he will nip at me. It's not that he doesn't like me, it's just something, he had a hard upbringing. The person who we adopted Anya from, her name is Kiwi, actually, which is really ironic. But yeah, no, she'll let me do this. She'll let me stroke her neck. Oh, she says, actually not right now, Dad. I'm not feeling that right now. Usually she does. But occasionally she gets in a mood. Before her, we had a green sheik that we adopted a year after Petrie in 2018 named Greenie. Greenie was part green sheik and part sun conure. And so for any parrot lovers out there who know, those two conures, their DNA produces issues, and usually in their first couple of years of life, there's a genetic time bomb that'll go off. Some kind of cancer, usually. Greenie was one when we got him, and in 2018. And after the first couple of years, we thought, we made it past that marker. Maybe we're home free. Maybe he's good. In 2023, though, we discovered he had a cancerous tumor that was inoperable, and he passed later that year. He was Petrie's good friend. Some of you have seen my posts about him. We have his feathers displayed along with his ashes over on our shelf here. Petrie has gone up. Anya just hopped on my shoulder. Petrie has preened the feathers on the feather display before. He recognizes his friend's feathers. He knows that he's gone. And sometimes he goes over there and perches next to them and just looks at them. Actually, I believe. Let me see. Yeah. Those are Greenie's feathers. And his footprints. And his ashes right there. So we were heartbroken. This was Greenie's cage originally. And, we didn't immediately go out looking for another conure. We're rescue people. So we decided that, if there was ever a type of conure that needed a home, that was in a bad situation, we would give them a home. And Anya came up a year and some odd months later. And for the last of our parrots, we've got mild-mannered Trevor. And we've got very protective Tanjiro. We got Trevor in 2017, about half a year after we got Petrie. We actually did kind of break down and get him from a pet store. It wasn't Petco or PetSmart. It was a place that specifically has birds, parrots, and they take much better care of them than a Petco or a PetSmart. We met Trevor with his clutch siblings, and he was there was just something about him. I mean, yes, he's pretty, but he also didn't get frightened easily like the others. He was very chill. So we adopted him. He was not even full grown back then, so I guess he's probably about 8 now. He's always been very deferential. He's a little bit meek. Sometimes he gets a bit scared, but he doesn't freak out. Unfortunately, sometimes other birds have bullied him. Greenie used to pick on him a little bit. Not harming him, but he would chase him out of the cage, and then Greenie liked to burrow under the papers there. We got Tanjiro in, I believe, I want to say 2020. And he was found by somebody just on the side of a road. They tried to find the owner and they couldn't. He was we actually don't know how old Tanjiro really is. He doesn't seem slowed down like he's really old or anything, but he was an adult, full grown. The finder couldn't locate the owner. So I took him to our same friend who we got the budgies from, and let us know, hey, I've got this teal. So we were like, all right, we'll give him a home. And we were not going to put them in the same cage right away. We put them in a separate cage because with parrots, you don't, unless they're budgies. But teals, conures, you don't easily put them in the same cage. Sometimes you never do that. So we put Tanjiro in a separate cage, but he looked at Trevor and acted like he was his old friend that he hadn't seen in forever. I don't know what it was. He kept straining to get out of he was shoving his head between the bars in his cage and almost hurting himself. He saw Trevor and he just needed to be by him. It was imperative that he go by Trevor. So we put him in the same cage and he just cuddled right up to him. He's very protective of Trevor, and nobody bullies Trevor anymore. Tanjiro was actually kind of territorial about their cage. Anya doesn't try to bully Trevor or anything, but sometimes she'll go around their cage and he'll squawk at her until she gets the heck out. When Greeny was alive, Trevor stood in the way and Greeny stopped trying to chase Trevor around. So yeah, we named him Tanjiro before that really became apparent, because we like this anime called Demon Slayer, or for the Japanese speakers, Kimetsu no Yaiba. But then he started being really protective of his sibling, just like Tanjiro from the anime. So by pure coincidence, the name fits him perfectly. Actually, he reminds us a lot of Neville. The reason we named Trevor, so Neville was named for the character from Harry Potter. We named him Neville Longfeather instead of Longbottom. And when we got Trevor, I told my wife, Kate, we should name him, similarly. And I don't remember this detail, but she said that Neville Longbottom had a pet named Trevor. So, Trevor, in honor of Neville Longfeather. Anyway, that's all my parrots. Minus Hamlet, of course. They all, it seems like a lot of birds, but they all kind of get along in this living room. They all have their own spaces. When I let the doves out to fly, they don't really interact with the parrots at all. And this is not something I would recommend anybody do. Usually doves would be quite unsafe. Parrots can harm doves pretty badly. And if a dove is determined enough, they can peck pretty hard and hurt the parrots. But this is something that we tested, we experimented with. And, Cookie, Biscuit, Crumpet over here. Where are you? There you are. Hi, baby. They're all very, they keep to themselves. They don't really associate with the parrots too much. Except for Ginny. Ginny and Petrie hang out sometimes. I don't let Ginny out as much because she's getting older, and I worry that with her flying being kind of a struggle that I just worry about her getting hurt. So after I'm done filming this, I'm going to let little Miss Silk out, and I'm going to hold her and give her cuddles because she hears my voice, and she's like, why the hell aren't you cuddling me? What the hell's wrong with you? Anyway, so that's my whole living room. Now you guys know all the birds that I have here. I hope you enjoy.